passion, drive, persistence, resilience, love. All qualities that shape and define us. Join the Cyber Warrior as he helps shape your path. This is Walk With Me.
Welcome back to Walk With Me, a Cyber Warrior Studios production. I'm your host on this journey, the Cyber Warrior. Now, today I want to cover two topics, and they kind of go hand in hand. The first one I want to talk about is actually based off of a quote by Marcus Aurelius from Meditations. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. Now, see, that's very important to me because anybody who follows me, anybody who has listened to this podcast for a while, anybody who has watched any of my other content, they know that I don't really do a whole lot of arguing. Much of what I do is to promote men's mental health in general, career success, helping others. That's what I do. And it's because to me, that's what it is for me to be a good man, is to help my community, help my family, right? Being able to provide, making sure that my wife, my kids, anybody else that, if it's within my power is taken care of. That's what it means to me. So I know what it means to be a good man in my eyes. I'm not going to sit there and argue with other people about, oh, you should do this or you should do that. I will give my advice on my shows and within my content, but I will not argue with you because there's no point. Why argue? Some people have their vision of what it means to be a good man. Some have their vision. It doesn't matter. To me, I'm going to live by the example I want to set for my sons. In this world, so much arguing is done online. So many people think they know what's best for other people, and they're willing to argue about it. I am willing to give advice based off of my life experiences, based off of how I am doing mentally, how I have done mentally, the ups, the downs, the roller coasters, and everything. I'm willing to do all these things because I know what has worked for me. But as a lot of people will tell you, what works for one person isn't necessarily going to work for another. So that is why I leave a lot of my advice generic to where it can work for just about anybody. But in particular, with this topic, with this quote, what it means to be a good man and people arguing about it. I see it a lot, whether it's on TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or you name it. I see comments all the time about what it is to be a man, what's toxic about masculinity, what's, this, that, and the third. And I'm not going to argue with it. A lot of these people already have their minds made up. They're not going to listen to other opinions. So I'm going to live my life doing what I feel is best for me, promote good mental health, promote a good life for my kids and my wife and my brothers and my sisters and my warriors and everybody else, and help out everywhere I can. I am going to protect the ones I love. Because to me, that's what it is to be a man. To me. It's protecting those we hold dear, protecting our friends and our family, standing up and being a member of the community and being willing to protect your community. That's what it means to me. So when you see people arguing and you decide to engage in those arguments, when you decide to go back and forth with someone and you're both being stubborn, two things are happening there. A, your mental health is going to take a hit because there's going to be a lot of negativity and a lot of vitriol that is going to be spewed your way. It happens. When nobody else has facts anymore, they go back to just name calling, like we're children. To me, that's not what it is to be a good man. When you start calling names and just being mean just to be mean because you have no leg to stand on, it's not good in my eyes. Now, when somebody is attacking you, you have two options there. You can state your piece and leave, or you can ignore it altogether. That choice is yours. Personally, if it comes down to it, I'll state my piece. I'll state my mind and how I feel about things, if it was ever necessary. And then I'm done. I'm not going to argue, because that is not protecting me and mine. Online, nobody's going to hurt me. Just like nobody can hurt you. And when I think about things like that, when I think what it takes to be a good man, there's one piece. And this is what's going to lead into the next topic, because there is one piece that's missing. And that's vulnerability. Now, this goes for everybody, but ideally, for the topic of this show, for men and what it means to be a good man. Vulnerability is very important. One of the things that we struggle with as men is to hide our emotions, to never show vulnerability, never show weakness. You have to be strong. You have to carry on. You have to do all these things. And I get it. But there is always a time and place for vulnerability. Whether that's with your guy friends who you know are going to cheer you up by making fun of you, but you're still going to understand, and everybody understands where you're coming from. Or if you trust your spouse enough to be vulnerable with her or with him. You see, that's what's important. That ability to be vulnerable. Because when you can't be vulnerable, when you're holding everything in all the time, when you think you're just being strong and you're being tough, no. You're being weak. And again, this is just my opinion on the matter. I am no expert by any means. I just know what I have seen and what I have lived through. Not showing vulnerability will lead you down a dark road. Because when you feel like you have no one you can open up to, when you don't actually open up, when those things eat at you, that is when, man or woman, a lot more issues arise. That's when you have breakdowns. That's when your anger flares up. That's when you get filled with rage. That is when you become depressed. That is when you become anxious. That is when you have panic attacks. And it is all because you refuse to ever be vulnerable. And there's nothing wrong with being vulnerable in the right circumstances. Now, why is this important to being a good man? Is because as a good man, you have to be able to provide and protect for your family and your community. But if mentally you were not there, if mentally you have been ground down so much that you no longer have the will or the capability to provide and protect, because you have never taken it upon yourself to be vulnerable or felt like you cannot be vulnerable, then now we have bigger issues. Now is when things really escalate and it becomes harder to do much of anything. So understand this. Being a man, being vulnerable, being able to show emotion, being able to do these things all go hand in hand. But all things have a time and a place and specific people that you should be able to express yourself to. It is not weakness to be vulnerable. It is not weakness to hold your stance on what it is to be a good man for you. What does show weakness is being ignorant, lacking knowledge, purposefully, being mean, purposefully. Those things are uncalled for. Those things don't make you a good man. Those things don't show vulnerability. That is you trying to break somebody else because you are too ignorant. You have not done the research to be able to argue your point. And so you deflect. So you become rude. So you go to name calling and become a child. No, I get it. Walk with me is normally for everybody, and I got to be honest, a lot of this can work for anybody. However, the stigma around men's mental health, the issues that the men I have talked to have come forward with, including going back a few episodes when I had a roundtable of men on for Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. These are things I don't want to quit talking about. These are issues I don't want to stop talking about. So, man or woman, my advice will be there for you to understand and for you to hopefully grow from. Hopefully it helps you, maybe your husband, maybe a brother, anybody. But understand that men's mental health is an issue that is not going to go away, because in a lot of men's eyes, they are not allowed to open up because it is weak. Because it shows that they are incapable of protecting and providing. At least that's what the stigma says. So I want you to understand all this, and I want you to know that no matter what happens, the men in your life will protect and provide for you. The real men, the good men. Because that is what we do. No, otherwise, this has been Walk With Me, a Cyber Warrior Studios production. As always, I'm your host, the Cyber Warrior. And if you take a look down below in the description on YouTube, check out the show notes. You can find all the ways to support this show and support this channel to allow me to continue making content for you. You can rate this on Good Pods or any podcast out there. You can like and subscribe if you're on YouTube. But I want you to take these words to heart. I truly do. Help people out. Be good to each other. And ultimately, the more we love each other, the more we show kindness, the more we quit making people think that they're not allowed to be vulnerable, the better off we'll be. I love you all. You're all my warriors. You're all my family. And I'll see you next time.